We start with a movie, with a film. Please, film. Are we ready to tap into the full potential of the Internet of Things? That's our guiding question for the next 2 hours, which will be hosted by Accenture. And for those of you who've been around yesterday, you've already seen Frank Riemensperger here on stage, and we're going to kick off with you. And with the guests, we're very honored that he's here. Please welcome Professor Dr. Kagermann, the former CEO of SAP and the president of acatech. Please on stage. It's yours.
Thank you and welcome. The next hour is about the digital future of the German industry. And I'm very pleased that we have Henning Kagermann with us, who actually coined the term Industry 4.0, who coined the term Smart Service Welt. That's what we're going to talk about. And this panel is about big business meeting startup business. We are very honored to have Siemens board member Henry here to talk about what does it mean for the big companies who shape the German industrial future, not only in Germany, but across the world. And we're very pleased as well to hear from a startup. What does it mean to actually connect already 10,000 or 100,000 of intelligent devices? That's a topic for the next hour, but let me ask Professor Kagermann to introduce into the topic.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. And he mentioned it's, first of all, a journey from Germany. And there's some history, and I might be of interest for you as well to understand where we are coming. I think there were many representatives from other countries coming to us in the last years to find out why we have selected all these topics and where it comes from. We have handed yesterday, let's say, to our Minister of Economics the Smart Services report, but that was more or less a key milestone in a longer journey. It started actually a long time ago, 2006, when we found out in Germany that we are pretty successful, but not in IT. We were, I don't know, number 12 or 13 in the world. And Germany's government created a so-called IT summit. And I have to go back to that because, let's say, we selected 2 lighthouse projects, the Internet of Things, 2006, by the way, and the second was the Internet of Services. Later, the question was, what are potential strategic projects for Germany to bring these things forward? And we felt that the best is to strengthen strengths and to focus on Germany is good on, and that is manufacturing, and that's where it started. I think we are very good in embedded systems, we know these, and we are good in manufacturing. So the question is, okay, we have started this idea of Internet of Things some years ago, we are good in those both things, so let's build the bridge from embedded systems to the Internet of Things. And the bridge are cyber-physical systems, where more or less, let's say in simple terms, you converge the virtual world with the physical world. So doing that, and you apply for cyber-physical worlds to the industry, I think you look for a catchy name at the end of the day. And interesting enough, at that time, Industry 3.0 was very famous, and everybody asked us to take Industry 3.0. And I think our answer was, okay, if we take such a catchy name, let's see where we really are. And we found out that people just missed the computer in the 60s. I think what we're talking about these days is not digitalization, it's about networking, it's about merging physical and virtual world, but it's not the beginning of digitization. So we called it Industry 4.0, and we made a bold statement saying, okay, the goal of Industry 4.0 is that we produce individualized products, so lot size of one for the cost of mass products. That's where it started. You know about it. Now, that is strengthening strengths, but there are things where Germany isn't that good. We are good in product innovation. We aren't that good in business model innovation. So if you want to complement and say we need more or less a complete vision, the idea is to say, okay, yes, we have smart factories, we have smart products, but if these products leave the factories, Frank, okay, they can be platforms to collect data, to offer additional services, and to create new innovative business models. But at the end of the day, we have to change perspective. It's good to come from a product side and have a product-centric view, but it's more important to look from the user and to look to his experiences, to his preferences, etc., and offer complete solutions. And that's what smart services is all about. And if you want to drive those smart services, it's obvious, as I said, you need data. You need data about the user, but at the end of the day, you also need data about the products you want to offer to him. And I always said, who can combine both? The knowledge coming from the products and from the user will be the winner in the end. And in order to support that, we felt that new digital infrastructures are the solution. If you look to these layers, which we, let's say, elaborated on in the last 2 years, you see if you come from the Internet of Things, you come bottom up. At the end of the day, you come from a smart product, you connect the products, you have so-called connected physical platforms, which are platforms for services, but it comes from the product. These intelligent products need intelligent surroundings, intelligent environments. If you look for an autonomous driving car, I think you need smart maps, just as an example. The car smartness alone is not enough. You need a smart digital representation of the real world. That's what we called, let's say, smart spaces underneath. So we need an infrastructure, we need intelligent surroundings. So we come here. So now if I come from the user's point of view, I don't care. A business model means at the end of the day that I need a digital ecosystem who's more or less bringing together all, let's say, the services, the products the user wants as a solution. In order to manage such a digital ecosystem, I need a platform. We call it service platform. That's a platform that supports it. Now, a service platform is just there to do business, but now I want to link those things back to the product. So you need a layer from both sides, which we call software-defined platforms, which virtualized and makes the services independent from the, let's say, representation of the products. It decouples from the products, and that's key. So that's the service-defined platform in the middle, and now you see how both worlds come together. Either if you look top-down from the user, or if you come to the product, you always end with this architecture. So therefore, we feel it's the architecture we need to support both Industry 4.0 and smart services. And to complete, and that's my final point, is you see this red topic here, smart talent, we just heard. Everybody believes in a future when it's all about data, it's just combining data, networking data, analyzing data in real time, and bringing knowledge through data, I think, to the people and optimizing the processes. it's obvious that it's not just the algorithm and the mathematicians behind, it's also the people on the shop floor, the doctors, etc., who have a great knowledge from experience, which we have to combine. Therefore, we feel we need the talent as well. And if you combine all of this, I think you have the key for the next business models. Frank.
Absolutely. Actually, I use this mic. And Henning, thanks a lot for the overview. You know, what does it mean for us? We are here in Coden. We have 50 startups showcasing, you know, how to collect data, develop new products, and create new business models. And you know, actually, here is the opportunity for the German industry. We have the smartest products already the world generates. We have the best cars, with the most intelligent in it. We have the best machinery. We have the best medical devices. We have the best factories. We have the best processes in chemical. Actually, Energiewende brings us leadership in decentral energy production and decentral energy consumption. You know what? All these devices generate data, lots of data. And what we have seen in the US, in the consumer industry, a complete industry has emerged in the Silicon Valley who has collected the consumer data and translated that consumer data into big business. Well, that's the Silicon Valley, that's the consumer side of the house. Now let's come to the German industry. Where is the opportunity for us to take the industrial data, which our machinery generates every day, and where's the opportunity actually to translate that industrial data into big money, which basically fuels the startups here in Coden and which fuels the big business? That's the big question. And it's not about generating more smarter products. We are leading in that segment already. It's all about collecting the data while our smart products are being used, aggregate that industrial data, and basically create new values out of that. And I'm very pleased that we have now a board member from Siemens, Mr. Helmrich, basically talking about the vision Siemens has, how to take the industrial data and generate basically leading edge businesses out of the data which all the Siemens equipment is producing every day. With that, Thomas, do you want to introduce?
Well, you've already done it. Thank you, Mr. Kagemann. I'm happy just to add that obviously, well, we all know that data is the oil of the 21st century, but we've already come to know that it's not that easy to dig for it, isn't it? And to find the nuggets in the data. And obviously that's the practical approach we're going to now hear about, how to make these massive amounts of data productive, because that's the next step, isn't it?
Well, let's hear the story. Big business meets startups and startup ideas.
All right. Mr. Henrich, thanks you're here.
So, yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's this very innovative and unusual environment. Sometimes big business starts with small business. And what we see today is that digitalization is more than a trend. Digitalization is changing some of the existing business models, and software play and will definitely play an even stronger role in the future. And data itself could be in the manufacturing area the unpolished diamonds. Diamonds what we use to create additional benefits for our customers. And when we are talking about manufacturing, we have to ask ourselves, for what does the customer pay us? There are three criteria. First, customers pay us for increasing their productivity. Second, they pay us for efficiency. And third, they pay us for reliable processes and products. Whatever we can help by analyzing data to support these three criteria to our customers is more than welcome from the customer perspective. And I will show you in three very simple examples. And this example is more a proxy how we use data in a manufacturing environment. I would like to start with a picture we all know in our consumer area. And this has changed dramatically our behavior. So you see here from the bookstore to an e-book, from a record store to a streaming of a video, from yellow pages to a marketplace in the web, and using taxi as and ride shared services. So in our environment where we act as consumers, it is a fundamental requirement to have access to the web. So we all are, I would like to say, always on. And this technology is driving as well data-driven services in the industries. And what we see is there are different sources for data. We all see these people to device. We all have connectivity with the device. We have people to people in the social networks. And we are now seeing more and more that we can use data from industrial applications like manufacturing or in a grid or in a medical environment. And you see on the left-hand side, the volume of data is increasing. But this is not, on the technical perspective, the problem. So connectivity is solved, the computer power is available, and the storage capacity is more or less for free. When I look back to my beginning as an engineer, it was in 1986, we always struggled with two things. One was the power of the processor, and the second thing was the size of the memory. It doesn't matter. Connectivity is given, power is given, space in memory is given. So now we have to think about what can we do with these technologies in our industrial environments. And you see here as well the degree of implementation. When we look at the trade, at the media, the implementation of digitalization is very high. As I showed to you in this first slide, e-book or using a video stream. You can listen to your video at every place in the world, at every time you like to see it. But now we have more and more the focus to the industries. But the industry goes hand in hand with domain know-how. If you have data from a gas turbine or data from a production of a car, you have different content in the data. So the ingenious model is to predict by using data analytic know-how and domain know-how an even better productivity or a reduction in energy consumption. So the focus now is get around the hands from the data in this industrial environment. And this is exactly what we do within Siemens. We use as well this wonderful communication, systematic, by using a handbook, and we provide to our customer online library. We have not the manuals, we have software updates by using a data stream. And we have direct contact via a marketplace in the web where customer can select his product. So this is very easy, it is very simple, so we're using exactly the tools what are available in the consumer environment. On the production side, this is more our home turf, how we can help the customer to optimize the product and to optimize, for example, here, the efficiency of this gas turbine. And I will guide you now to 3 of these examples. Let me start with the simple one. I will go very quickly through it. So the digitalization of all of our product information, you can have access in the web, you can use it, and the connectivity is everywhere, and we sell it as an easy interface doing business with Siemens. The more ingenious thing is this motor. And this motor represents an example. It can also stand for a machine, it can stand for a gas turbine, it can stand for a production machine. What we describe is, for example, with this motor, the speed or the temperature. If we can connect this information very easily with a cloud system, and based on this cloud, an owner of the data, so the owner of the motor, the owner of the process, can add an app, and based on this app, he can predict a maintenance case. He can build on this data smart services. And this is exactly what we are doing. We integrate, because the data of the motor are in a design. The motor is connected to an automation system, and we help the customer by selecting the parameter in the design software. So he decides, I would like to see the parameter of temperature and the parameter of speed in the web. And he has nothing to do, only to set the parameter in the configuration. Everything is supported by the system. So it is very easy to connect the system to the cloud. And the next step is that in the cloud, the owner of the data, and this is important, this is different to other models, what we have in the consumer area. The owner of the data is still the owner of the motor, the owner of the equipment. And based on that, he can provide data-driven additional services in an ingenious market and business model. And you can imagine that this is very important to have the hand on the data and make it very easy to connect the data to the cloud. And in the cloud, customer can use it and predict maintenance, can predict energy consumption, can predict load in a factory. So you have access across the border, you have access across your borders of the company via the cloud computing to your installed equipment, but you also have your secured data in your hand, and you can provide, based on that, additional data-driven business cases. Next example is where we combine internal and external data. So here you see a wind turbine fleet. We have, based on our automation system, the data available, how efficient a wind turbine is working under the different weather conditions. So if it's sunny, if it's raining, if strong or low wind. And we know exactly the parameter, what does it mean for the energy production. When we now combine this internal data with external data, and external data coming from the weather forecast, we can adjust even quicker the entire fleet of the wind turbines to the coming weather conditions. So the combination of own data with external data provides a new additional business case in the combination of the two sets of the data. And here, for example, for the customer, it means that we can increase the performance by 1%. Now you can say, what does it mean, 1%? If you have a wind turbine fleet with 500 megawatts, it means finally one turbine more or less. So it's a huge improvement in the performance by using this internal domain know-how with external data provided through the weather forecast. And the systematic behind this shows this picture. In the industries, in the manufacturing, it is essential because we have a real process behind every digitalization step. So it's different if we read an e-book, the systematic is completely digitalized. So the letter is digitalized, the transportation, and the reader again. But here we have real concrete physical processes. For example, power generation or a grid, a power grid, or a factory or a hospital. So we always have a physical, real process in combination with a digital twin, with a digital shadow. And based on the physical know-how, based on the access to the physics, with data analytics know-how, we can provide, and the customers can provide, based on new business models, an increase in performance, and a reduction in energy, or an optimization of an asset. And this is, I personally believe, a strength of the German industries, because we have a huge experience in manufacturing processes, and in the optimization. So this engineer thinking is today in our mid-sized companies, in the big companies, and as well in startups, implemented. And we can now use this data analytics know-how to make even more out of this know-how in this ingenious combination between physical process and data analytic process, and combine it to a new business model, and finally generate value for the customer in terms of performance, energy savings, or cost reduction. And this is exactly described in the final report of the acatech. And the acatech says, look, what we like to have is a platform, and based on this platform we provide new business models, and we work continuously by having the opportunity to invite on our open platform startups, customers, to add apps which then finally provide an additional value for one specific customer application. My conclusion is that the digitalization is not a trend in the industries, but it is now in the focus of the manufacturing industries, that we provide on data additional value and services to our customers. And I would like to make very clear, this is not the entire process to transform a company into a digital company. It is even more. Then we have to talk about the data flow, the data backbones, and we have to talk about the design and the engineering of a product. Here it is only focused on providing services on existing products. By using the data, you can measure out of the installed fleet or of the installed environment. I would like to describe it. If you go through your factory, you'll see with your eyes the current status. If you go with a magnifying glass through the factory, you see even more. And this is what we are doing by using digitalization. We see more what happens in the processes, what happens with a product, and based on analytic know-how and in combination with domain know-how, we can predict even better the performance and the quality in the manufacturing environment. So to sum it up, the smart service world requires, in the area of manufacturing, an ecosystem. It requires open platforms, it requires domain know-how, and it requires an even more ingenious business models. And I believe that we can speed up in creating new business models based on this ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hemrich.
Something is happening, and we in Germany must think through what does it mean for the success of our industry. And then we started to have a discussion. You know, we were looking out for use cases and say, is this digital disruption? Is this real? Oh, the clicker. I'm not going to use slides. I'm going to tell stories now. Is this digital disruption real, or is this just, you know, a fantasy? And then you start looking at, you know, you just ask for the culture. And then you look at basically the product-centric business models and the people who engineer the product and say, hey, we're building the best products in the world. And then you suddenly see these little niches on the side where you start to think something real is happening. And I had a wonderful story a few months ago. It was a pharma company. And maybe you heard the story, so please forgive. But that impressed me the most. It was a pharma company, and the pharma company was in diabetes medicine. And diabetes is several forms of diabetes. And they do one of the leading diabetes pills for diabetes you develop at age. And it's a nice, for the pharma company, it's a nice, I have to say business, don't please forgive me, but the people who develop that form of diabetes typically do that between 50 and 60. You know, you have to take a pill. The pill is fairly expensive, and you take it until your last day. And the pharma company said, you know, what does digital mean for us? Is this a threat to our business model? And if you do pills, you know, you have substance and research and takes clinical trials, and it takes 10 years, and actually you would think, you know, the digital thing is somebody else's business, not mine. And then there was a very young and energetic professor in the company who said, you know, let me think through about the digital disruption. And he said, I take 1,000 patients who have to take a pill every day, and I'm going to start working with these 1,000 patients. And you know what he did? He started to wire them up. I have a jawbone. He started to wire them up. He took all the data, and then he said, you know, I need to basically be digitally with these guys every day. And he transformed their cars into a medical observation, into a patient treatment room. By the way, he was helped by a German car manufacturing out of South Germany. I don't say which one, but that car manufacturing patented that, you know, can you rethink your car as a medical treatment room? They created a patent out of that, just out of that research. So he started to observe 1,000 patients. He gave them advice what to do and what not to do. He gave them advice on how to eat, how to basically walk. You know, and if you know about the diabetes disease, you know, the next wave basically is signaled by a depression. And how can you recognize a depression coming? People stop to communicate. So he looked at the way they use their mobile, and they looked at the way they use their Twitter and their WhatsApp and Facebook. And suddenly he could predict, you know, the diabetes development. Like we saw on the machine, we can do the same with the humans. And then he started to work with these guys, with 1,000 patients. He said, you know, if you do this and this and this, you can slow down on the use of the pill, because we know the next diabetes shock is coming. We know what you have to eat. We know what you have to do in the physical exercise. Make a long story short, after 1 year, he had 1,000 patients. From 1,000 patients, he had 650 off the pill. I would call that radical disruptive for the business model of the pill maker. I mean, radical disruptive for the business model of the pill maker. You know, 2/3 of your revenue base is gone. And that revenue has been translated from making pill into patient-centric service. Somebody else has taken the profit pool away. You know, and that's what we need to do in Germany. We need to think out of the box and say, is our business model safe from the digital disruption? Or can we start thinking very user-centric? And we can do that. I had another wonderful example only a few weeks ago. You know, who uses the shower at home every day? Not a lot of hands going up. That makes me think. You know, and I have to say it was Mr. Dornbracht himself. The Dornbracht is doing this wonderful shower equipment. And he gave me a wonderful story and said, you know, I'm thinking of what digital means for my business. And he said, you know, I'm doing the shower equipment and I'm doing these water faucets, and they are very expensive. They are 500 euros, 1,000 euros a piece, you know, and they're real physical stuff. I put them in the bathroom and they sit there for 10 years or longer, you know, and typically would think digital doesn't mean anything for him. And he said, you know, I started to think through, how can I take advantage from the digital disruption? And he said, you know what drives me to do that? He put a chart out. There were 20 shower equipments out there. He said, you know, one is from Dornbracht and 19 are copies. They all looked the same, and then he asked the audience, can you tell me which one is mine, and can you tell me which one is a copy? Obviously, we couldn't. And then he said, you know, my customers can't tell the difference as well, but they only can tell that the copy costs half than mine. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a digital leader in the water and in the shower business. And he started to talk about a shower. He said, you know, think about a digital shower. And then he gave us a use case, which I liked a lot. My son plays in the Little League in soccer. And he said, you know what? If I have a digital shower, that digital shower can shower you like Klopp from Borussia Dortmund, you know? And if Klopp goes into the shower, he goes out for the next game, you know, he goes into the shower and he has the right lighting and he has the right music and he comes out of the shower after 5 minutes completely engaged. And what if, you know, I can replicate that experience for everybody? Wouldn't that be great? He said, you know how to do that? I asked Klopp to give me his shower profile with the lightning and the power music. And he said, you know what, the next thing I was going to do, I create an app store and I will make my showers digital. So people at home can, for 99 cents, download the way Klopp showers before to the game, and you can have the same experience in him before you go to the match on Saturday. And my ladies, you know, and he said, you know, and then his promise was, and what I tell you, know, that digital experience, I make you as sexy as Klopp coming out of the shower and as energized as Klopp if you download that app. So he says, my business is not anymore to sell that shower thing. My business to sell the tower thing, the smart product, and my business is to have an app store and sell you the service. And ladies in the room, if you're not interested how Klopp showers, but if you want to be really beautiful, you know, he talked about Heidi Klum, the next top model, and he talked about how we can download basically how Heidi Klum's shower profile, and then he wants to sell you a shower for 25,000 euros where you can lay flat, you know, and you get showered like Heidi Klum, and you really come out very sweet looking out of that shower experience. And that's the digital future. We have to rethink our smart products. We have to rethink them digital. We have to rethink how we can add digital services which are created by an ecosystem of profiles. Think about the shower and the ecosystems. You can basically put in 10,000 shower profiles. You can shower like Klopp. You can shower like Heidi Klum, or maybe I want to shower like Warren Buffett, you know, and have the same smart ideas on how to make money. But think about what the digital ecosystem can do. And we see that here at Code N, at Robot Job. You know, this is a KUKA industry roboter. But what Robot Job has done, they created an ecosystem of probably 10,000 of artists out, and all the cubes coming out, all the Sitzhockers coming out, you know, is from an ecosystem of artists, which the one company could have never dreamed of. So we have to rethink our smart products as basically platforms who are basically a basis for a digital ecosystem, which is not necessarily our ecosystem in the company boundary. We have to rethink our products, how we can create basically 1,000 designs out of an open platform, and we have to rethink how we can collect the data and how we can monetize the data into additional revenue. And in order to do that, we have to take our employees with us. The formula for digital leadership in Germany: smart products, smart services, and smart talent. People who are digital smart, which are basically working for us in the company or outside of the company, and which are the digital enabled talent which bring all these visions to life. That's what we have written down in our smart service product secret. If you can hand me a copy. You can download that from the acatech website. It's a recipe for company success, and it's a great platform to marry up established companies on the one side and startups with creative ideas on the other side. And we bring that to life, and I'm very pleased that we have now a real-time example. You will do that from a big company again who says, how do we do that in everyday's life? Thank you.
go into the use cases, I worked 2 years now on the Smart Service World as the speaker together with Professor Schuh from the University in Aachen as speaker of the Working Group 1, which was responsible for the use cases, in order to explain what's going to happen with smart factories, smart products, and how we will create smart services based on that. But just to talk about time, imagine just 7 years ago, this one didn't exist. No one had smartphones, no one had apps, and only in 7 years, this is now the 5, but there's already iPhone 6. So we talk about 6th generation of smartphones. We talk about billions of apps, new business models that have been created in 7, 8 years. So, of course, this is consumer industry, and manufacturing and production is much slower. But this is exactly what we were discussing in the last 2 years in the working group, how we can explain, how we can accelerate the change in the production industries, the manufacturing industries, how we can explain what's going to happen in our industries, especially where we in Germany have special domain know-how, and how we can accelerate new business models in order to prevent that one day Google will run our factories and that we will only be a sub-supplier of a bigger business model. So we have to come up with ideas how we can compete. I think Frank explained that clearly, that we have to be more innovative. And yeah, I hope I can give you an overview of what we did over the last 2 years, and hopefully you can get an idea that not only big companies like Siemens or Accenture can participate, but also small and medium-sized companies will be already today be able to use the existing models, technologies in order to scale their business up, change the business models, and participate in Industry 4.0 and in the Smart Service Welt. But it's also the change of business models, and you have heard already over the last 2 hours a lot about it. This is from Rolls-Royce, and they sell plane turbines, and they changed the business model. They sell now flight hours. But what is even better, they sell all which is operational services, and this business model is much more successful than the old business model of selling just turbines. They run the complete maintenance business, and in the service business, the profit rates are much higher than the product rates. Yeah, even you think why this is important for Hilti, but these Hilti machine tools are very expensive, and for many handcraftsmen, it's a very serious investment to buy these machines, and they don't need it the full year, 24 hours, 3 shifts. They need it only for a certain time. So it's much easier to rent it from Hilti with a full covered service concept. They get delivered, they only pay as long as they use them. If they are stolen or broken, they're insured and they get a replacement immediately. So that they don't have to worry about asset management. This is done all done by Hilti. And Hilti changed the business model, not only selling the machine tools, but managing operation and also the maintenance. And this is, of course, also happening in other industries. This is a tool which you can download for your smartphone, Quixit, and you can just say you want to go from A to B, and you can put all your preferences in, and it will tell you the best modalities how to get there. And this is developed by Deutsche Bahn, so by the German railways, but they cover the A to B because they understood that it's not only important to sell tickets for railways, but they need to cover the needs of the users. They want to come from A to B, and this is not only railways. And this is exactly also demonstrating how the business model is changing. It's from product-centric to user-centric. So our new business models have always to put the user, the customer, and the focus of our attention. And this is something, especially in the traditional industries, we are not fully used to. So we have to adapt faster, and we have to change our business models as well. In order to discuss that, and this is, I think, was a very challenging experience at the beginning, we brought almost 150 participants from universities, from politics, and from different companies, even big and small companies together. And we worked on the future use cases in order to demonstrate that this change has already happened, and that we can already today use these technologies in order to create new business models. We had more than 20 business models. We had more than 20 use cases. We had to focus it, and at the end, we put 6 use cases into the final report, which was handed over to Minister Gabriel yesterday. So these 6 use cases explain for all different kinds of industries like logistics, manufacturing, energy, how the change is happening already today. And I will explain only 2 based on time constraints, but I hope it will demonstrate a bit how the business models also change on the manufacturing side. Traditionally, and I was before my new role now for large drives, I was responsible for building up the services for industry in Siemens. And we had very conservative business models. Something breaks, we send out a technician and we fix it, we sell a spare part, and we go back. And this many times we did without even telling the customer that we were there and what we have done and that we have finished our task. This was our traditional service model. And this is not very successful. Customers complaining that they didn't know what we did, and they always brought it back to a discussion how expensive is an hourly rate for a service technician. The new models enable us to create service providers not only for one element, for one product, but we have to be open for new marketplaces, new service models. When we talk about smart products, smart factories, what do? We have to imagine a world where the factory and the components and the machines are so smart and communicating with each other. If they have a problem, they will call for support or even replace the missing and failure-rated machine by an own process. And this is what we have done now in the new model. We create marketplaces. We create a platform where you can connect all different kinds of devices, not only Siemens devices. You can connect competitor devices, you can connect production machines, you can connect cars, you can connect whole factories. So whatever you want to connect, you can channel through this platform. You can put additional services on top of it. You can create marketplaces where you can sell app stores-like services from Siemens, but also from companies like Accenture, IBM, and others. So it's not a proprietary model anymore. And I think this was, for us in the group, it was a long discussion, because many of our participants thought that even in 5, 10, 15 years, they will still base their business models on proprietary models. And this is not the case. I strongly believe, and we finally also in the group decided, that a proprietary model will not survive. So this is why we decided that the way forward has to be an open model, an open platform. And with that, service providers can create completely new business models. They can run new analytics in order to understand what operational data from the devices they use and how they use it for new service provision. For example, we found out that by analyzing, connecting sensors to motors and gears, we are able to predict a failure up to 6 months before it physically happens. This gives us enough time to send spare parts or a service team out in order to prevent that the machine breaks down. And for many of our customers, shutdowns of operations are highly cost intensive. We have just a case where a customer has a problem. It costs, just the breakdown of one machine costs 2 million Australian dollars per day. So imagine how important it is to have a preventive maintenance, a predictive maintenance ongoing in order to make sure that we keep operation up. This will be enabled on this platform, and new business models will be able to integrate. And this is, imagine that a company that runs analytics, and they are very good in analyzing all kinds of data. But they have problems to scale their business model up, because they have problems to connect to millions of devices. But having thousands of users, thousands of companies running all their devices, some in proprietary, some in open mode, they will be able to have a complete new access to clients, customers globally with a much higher number of devices. And this will create a completely new business model. We had also a working group, and they were looking at marketplaces. And there's a company up there, Trumpf, on the first floor, and they were really pushing this really fast forward. Today, they deliver their machine tools with a first set of parameters. With this, then the end customer starts creating its own sets of parameters for its own materials, for its own different kind of processes. And that's a very difficult and also very time-consuming process. In order to replace that and create a new market space and create also more transparency for themselves, and they have today already 20,000 machines connected, they decided to go for a marketplace where they can trade these parameter data. So instead of sending a technician with the first sets of parameters, configuring the machine when they do the commissioning of the machine, they will download the parameters into the machine, and they can update it, of course, very easily. But on top of it, once the end customer starts creating its own sets of parameters, the customer can sell it back to the market space, or he can exchange it for other parameters in order to save time on other materials and other processes. So it will be an open market space where you trade then your parameterization data, and it will be only the start. Based on that, you can generate then new business models on top of it. And maybe you have heard it during the last days, Siemens and SAP were announcing an open platform here at the CeBIT recently. And this is a big step forward. It's an industrial cloud which enables to run all these business models that I just told you on an industrial cloud platform. And not being hostage to one company. Because you can run your proprietary business models in, you can connect all your devices, even from all different kind of brands, if different industries. But you have also an API builder where you can then generate the necessary applications to generate your new business model. And this can be created by third-party companies, by your own company, by big IT companies, and of course also by companies like Siemens and others. So there will be a new App Store-alike feeling in order to run applications for different industries. And this is, I think, a very step forward. What is, of course, the second questions of all our customers when we start these kind of models and platform discussions, they ask us about security. And security will be offered with the platform, but other security providers will be able to offer their services as well. So you can connect other service providers, even for security issues, to the platform, ensuring that your data is protected by state-of-the-art mechanisms. And this is something when I talk to clients, to partners, and to suppliers, they all ask us how they can participate. They all work on digitalization strategies, but they don't know to whom they can connect in order to get answers, how they can use this tomorrow in order to generate the new business models. They're all afraid of what's happening. They see that the speed in consumer industries is very high. And at the moment, they really struggle to understand how they can participate. And this is also why we created a report, in order to show that there are solutions, that there are use cases that can be used immediately, that there are platforms available where you can, even as a small or medium company, immediately start to create new business models on. So we hope that we set also an alarm call, as Frank said, because we need to be faster. I think we have a lot of advantages based on the domain know-how that we have in Germany and in Europe. But a lot of other companies are waiting to go for the same path and come from the side with new, smarter business models in order to cannibalize our business. So we have to use that platform. We have to generate more platforms, new applications, new business models, and we have to start cooperating continuously between politics, companies, and universities. So I strongly believe that we set a very important step forward with the final report here for Smart Service Welt. And we need now to prove that we can create fast test labs, use cases implemented, so that small and medium companies see how they can participate. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks for having me. Great introduction. You're absolutely right. We are somehow different. So, I mean, we are not the typical startup, as you see. We have, and the team as well, we have a couple of years already experience in the market. So we materialize, actually, what we learned. And as you said, I spent roughly 30 years with US companies in the telecommunication space. And what happens right now with the Internet of Things is pretty much a déjà vu what we have seen 30 years ago in the IT industry. A lot of silos, stovepipes, so a lot of offers from different vendors. They're all building their kind of Internet of Things cloud. They're building their kind of APIs to bring some applications to life with their products. But nobody is actually looking, not nobody, but I mean, most of these companies are the gorillas, obviously. I mean, these are the big companies. They have the capacity, they have the engineering power, and they have the thought leadership as well to invest in these kind of things. But literally, they are not looking so much in the internetworking of things. And that's actually what we're doing with Relayer. We bring things to life. And the presentation of today is actually about rapid prototyping and innovation for the Internet of Things right now. And now I have to check here with the clicker. OK. Here we have the economist Jeremy Rifkin. I think he is today at the CeBIT as well. And he's talking Germany is leading the path of the third industrial revolution. I'm not sure who is right, actually, because we are talking already about the forced wave of the industrial revolution here, but maybe that's just semantics. But what is really sure and certain, I mean, the Internet of Things is here, it's real, and will be really a paradigm shift for a lot of industries. And he actually, Rifkin, said, OK, the Internet of Things is a three-part web. And I obviously would say, I mean, there's even more than 3 parts. It's a communication network, a transport network, and a power grid. And I think we will not see, I mean, the Internet of Things, let's say, network or cloud. I mean, there will be several Internet of Things clouds, pretty much depending on the purpose. So it connects the entire economy. Sensors and actuator will actually connect any device, any machine, and any individual. Right now, we are talking about 50 billion sensors already connected, maybe not consolidated in a cloud service, maybe in proprietary services as well, and but more to come. So if you look for the predictions, for example, Cisco, they are stating in 2020 about 50 billion devices connected to the internet. And if you look for market forecasts, we're talking about enormous amounts of 14 trillion US dollar market value of the market of Internet of Things. And that's definitely a new paradigm. But with this new paradigm, you will have winners and losers. And the Internet of Things, and as well the industrial Internet of Things, will create new winners long before losers find out they are losing. So it's all about adapt or die. So the question is here a little bit about urgency. What is your strategy? You have to question yourself, if you are an established business, what is your strategy for the Internet of Things or industrial Internet of Things? And we all see it every day in the newspaper. Technology disrupts businesses heavily. If you look for Uber, if you look for Airbnb, if you look for Tesla, you never thought that there are outsiders, for example, entering in the automotive business. Because you think, I mean, we have strong players here. No, but technology is a game changer. So, interesting slide here. Thanks to our hosts here from Accenture. They looked actually what is perception and what is reality. And they asked actually business leaders how ready they think they are in terms of Internet of Things strategy. And if you look, I mean, one is perception. They think 84%. We are in a good shape, and we have a clue what's all about and how to generate new business value and business streams out of the Internet of Things. But if you look on your right-hand side, it's only 7% have a comprehensive strategy for the industrial Internet of Things or Internet of Things. So another study from IDC, actually brand new, is what are the top 5 hurdles? Why businesses or companies are not actually making progress with the Internet of Things? One is a skill gap by 19%. Another one is availability of end-to-end solutions. So, I mean, there, as I said in the beginning, I mean, there are some solutions out there, but there is not an entire end-to-end solution. Management support, obviously. Here, actually, we can't help. I mean, but here are companies like Accenture who are willing to help, actually, to bring management up to speed in terms of awareness. Security, obviously, is something we hear every day. What is if my house or whatever will be hacked? But last but not least, upfront investment. So a lot of people looking at what does it really mean for them to invest in, let's say, Internet of Things solutions. How many years and man hours and capacity I have to offload from my regular business and have to do the upfront business. And here actually we come into play with a platform as a service offer, which is, by the way, end-to-end. And it's community-based. So we have right now roughly 2,000 developers, I mean, open source, using our open source code to develop solutions on our platform. Interesting enough for a company who is actually a software company that we have so much success with our hardware, which is a wunderbar. And why is this? Maybe if you attended the last session, here was Jackson, and was maybe presenting a little bit the wunderbar, because we started 2 years ago with pure cloud service, and so we are actually a 100% software company. But a lot of people ask me, and Harold, how you actually get this data into your cloud? And I was really bored about this question. I said, listen, give me a break here. We will do some investment. And we asked actually people, what is the biggest hurdle for them? Developers. And they said, yeah, for app developers, they have no clue about hardware. So we developed the Wunderbar, and it's a perfect rapid prototyping module for app developers actually using physical hardware for the Internet of Things to build their initial ideas without no knowledge about hardware. So, I mean, if you know Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone, whatever, Arduino, you need a little bit hardware knowledge. Here, in the case of the Wunderbar, all you need is actually software knowledge. You can program it. All is open source. The PCB layout is open sourced. The firmware is open sourced. Everything is accessible. So even if you build your dream, you can really bring from sketch to scale. You can bring it to the next level without additional royalty costs or so. So based on this success, we have 2 target groups. One is business-to-business customers, like, for example, Bosch Siemens Haushaltsgeräte. They're looking at us and said, listen, gee, great idea. We need your creativity, or at least the creativity of the crowd. So here the potential, as I said, we have around 2,000 developers working on our platform, so we can use actually their experience. The product will be improved day by day, and as well we can ask them for their help, for their ideas. So actually we came up with, because everything is about time, the Relay Internet of Things Innovation Accelerator. And as you see, we can come from an idea to a ready prototype product in at least, let's say 2 to 3 months. And that's really rapid innovation. As I said, the service for the rapid innovation is the Wunderbar, the connected hardware, the Relay Cloud, and SDKs, open source SDKs for the app developers. It's worth to mention here as well that the Wunderbar is just a rapid prototyping module to play around, actually to materialize your ideas. If it really comes to scalable solutions, we will port the firmware of the Wunderbar to the leading platforms of choice. So whatever chip manufacturer you have in mind, if you have maybe conditions with Texas Instruments or you name it, we can say, okay, no problem, we will port the firmware we have on the Wunderbar on the new chipsets. And obviously, I mean, you have all the authentication, security, and all the problem makers actually to get your information, the data model, into the cloud, solved with the firmware. Yeah. I'll look a little bit at the time. How we help actually to make it 2 minutes, okay? Because I have a short video to show you as well how we do this rapid prototyping together with a business-to-business customer. Here you see actually, I mean, the hybrid cloud, you have a flavored version. You can fully host it by Relayer. We can have a white labeled version for you. So if you say, listen, I mean, I have now the capacity to build my own Internet of Things cloud, you can use actually the Relayer cloud, white labeled in your corporate colors or whatever. The option of gray labeled, hosted and selected by partners. And we have global partnerships in terms of technology, consultants, innovation, and developers. And again, time to market is an advantage. With our platform as a service, we will reduce development time by 70 to 80%, and so costs. Here is a full flower, actually, of the tornado of rapid enablement of Internet of Things. So on one hand, you see with the Wunderbar rapid prototyping projects with a couple of customers actually using the Wunderbar. On the other hand, you have the API integration, which is pure API Relayer cloud to other cloud integration. On the bottom right, you see actually the firmware integration, as I said, with Arduino, Spark, Raspberry Pi, Intel Edison, you name it. And last but not least, we can integrate with Bluetooth Low Energy any pure Bluetooth-enabled device. We can get it cloud connected. I would like to share, actually, as one of my last slides, a video of a hackathon we did together with Bosch Siemens Bosch Siemens Appliances, sorry, to give you a short impression how things work together if a startup and actually a blue chip customer looking for new innovation. And hopefully it will run. Oh. So, final closing, what you have seen for Bosch, I mean, for Bosch Siemens Appliances, they got 12 new solutions, at least ideas, prototype level of ideas for solutions, for scenarios together with their white appliances. They never, if you've seen, I mean, the crowd of developers, you have to say, I mean, they never be capable to have these kind of creativity in-house. So it's for them, it's a really great opportunity, and for other companies to work together on rapid prototyping for the Internet of Things. And then it's up to them to really bring it to the next level, to production. Thanks for your attention.
Everybody is talking about the Internet of Things will lead to a more customer-centric approach towards the market, which is easily said, but hard to achieve, isn't it? How would you get there?
It's happening already. Can you hear me?
We need a microphone for Dirk, please. Do you have it?
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, it's happening already. As I said in some of the examples, it's happening. The change is happening, and you saw it in the slide of Klaus Helmrich when we saw the level of digitalization in the different industries. And of course, media consumption, you see a high level, and you see in manufacturing production, you see a very low level still. But it's happening. Technologies are there. It's more now the mind shift that we need in order to accelerate the digitalization, and of course then the Internet of Things and smart services.
How do you can foster this change of mindset? You're CEO of a very large division of Siemens, and well, to change a mindset is nothing you can but just push from top down, I assume.
It's a big challenge. You see, when I started to talk to my new team, telling them that we would digitalize our motors and inverters, they looked at me like this. And I said, we have to create smart products, smart factories, and smart factory networks. And this will be our strategy. And digitalization will be one of our strongest growth levers for the future. And we're working on it. We are now, but right now we have to, in order to get there, we have to make the problem smaller. So the vision is too much at the same time. So we start creating smaller steps, so that also all the team members understand where we want to go and what they can contribute already today. Because telling them the whole vision already now, and then they think this will happen in 20, 30 years, which will not. It will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. But we will now break it down in smaller steps in order to make it understandable for the whole team. And this is something that we also, with the final report, we want to generate. We want to talk with different companies, universities, about how to create that change faster in Germany and in Europe, because we need that in order to be at the forefront of the digitalization and of being successful in Industry 4.0.
Let's assume that you make good progress in that sense. Do the customer follow? I mean, isn't that also a hurdle? I mean, well, yeah, you've become customer-centric, but unfortunately your customer's not there where you hope him to be in terms of digital maturity.
Now, many of our customers are skeptical. And of course, you have to prove to them with pilot projects that it's working. You start with a small level of digitalization. You start with something like remote monitoring. You have to convince them that the data is safe once it's transmitted to a data center where we have analytic skills then put on. But I also see that it depends on the different industries, and some customers are very open. For example, I was visiting a brewery and a company. They have, in that country, they have 6 breweries. And so the CEO gets monthly statistics about usage of water and energy. So he just looks at it. If it's okay, the output is okay, the profit is okay, he just puts it away. So imagine we connect now the complete brewery, analyze the different process steps, and give him an app where he sees on his iPad the difference in operation between all the 6 breweries, and he sees the water consumption, the energy consumption in the different process steps in the different factories, and he can now challenge the heads of the factories. Why do you need 10% more energy and water than factory B?
You have to anonymize those figures, I assume, don't you? What are your hurdles for market entry? I mean, the customer?
Not so much actually. I mean, one was talent. As I said, I mean, in our discussion, to find the right talent in Germany. Interesting, maybe to feedback, because that's what we discussed this morning, or regarding skill set. As I said, I mean, we have a team of 30 people, 22 nations. It's hard to find the skills in Germany. So, I mean, if we're looking for the growth numbers we have in mind for the Internet of Things, skills, and build up these kind of skills to actually working on what's needed for the industry, for startups, for customers, will be a huge issue. And therefore, we're heavily investing in business to developer. I mean, that's in general, I guess, we leverage the crowd pretty much. Because we are a small team of 30, but in terms of appearance in the market, and in terms of how fast we are moving in terms of development of code and development of APIs to subsystems, we are moving very, very fast. So I would say for hurdles is always money and people.
Well, at least in terms of people, a shortage everywhere. I mean, they're not easy to find the guests neither.
Exactly. But I mean, that's a little bit the rat race. I mean, if you compare Germany or other, let's say, hotspots like Berlin with Silicon Valley, I mean, who gets the best talent behind an idea? And obviously, you need money. So, I mean, that's actually the math. I mean, it's all about execution. I mean, it's not so much about the idea. I mean, because there are great ideas, and if we learned, I mean, there are 60 platforms out there, but end of the day, I mean, who will make the race is actually with, I mean, obviously great idea, great talent, great money. And then the next thing is user adoption, customer insights, getting friendly customers, getting whatever, an ecosystem of people supporting us, like Accenture in terms of the management support. Yeah, that's next.
Frank, that's an issue that drives you. How you get excellence in execution?
Actually, this is not initially about operational excellence. If you look what's happening, it's all about me.
You said though. Yeah. Well, consultants have been selling the concept of customer centricity for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. Still works. They still buy it?
I have 3 kids, 2 girls, and they're 19, 21, and they are trained every day. It's all about me. They have the apps. They have the experience. If they get offerings, Facebook and all the other online shopping portals, it's all about Francis and Kim. Not about somebody else. It's about you. And my kids are growing up in a digital world. They started to use these devices. When I moved to the US when they were 12 and 14, one of the deals to get them moving was you get a smartphone. And 7 years later, it is the norm. If we think that experience is not applicable to all the users of DX machines, we are wrong. If you are the machine operator of your big motors, these operators think it's all about me. Why doesn't the machine do what I want the machine to do? Or why doesn't the machine inform me proactively? I'm not doing that well, do something about it. So we have to go away from the traditional business models, and we have to think through how can we increase the productivity of actually all the people who operate these systems out in the world. It's not about the machines talking to the machines at the end, it's about the people who are the beneficiaries of the machines or the people who operate the machines. And they will start to think as well, it's all about me. And there's a machine which is not talking to me, and there's a machine which basically informs me what's going on, what's wrong, do an intervention. And I think that will make the difference. So we see a big shift from what we have learned in the consumer world now to the industrial world. And if you even don't know about the guys who are operating the machine, because we don't know about them, we don't know who they are, how can we give them service? And, on that journey, we do all the other stuff. We do the operational effectiveness, we do the predictive analytics, we do everything to please the me, which are our customers out there. That's what's going on.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, who has questions? And the second one is, where's my microphone that just lied there? Professor Schuh, you didn't see that, right? No, okay. All right there. So whose questions have you? You stole it. Here we go. Please, state your name. I'll take it.
Okay.
If not, I can't interrupt you. If you have a call.
Okay, all right, great. This is Hamid, coming from Istanbul. We talked about the US and Germany mostly, right? And it sounds like it's a 2-race horse. US dominating maybe the consumer-driven data and IoT, and Germany, positioning itself to dominate the industrial, portion. Obviously, there are other players in the world. There are big manufacturing countries like Japan and Korea. There's a whole emerging market. There's UK, who's driving a lot of innovation. I see a lot of Scandinavian, startups, here. What are your thoughts on some of the other hotspots globally?
And I think China has something to say about that either. So, Dirk.
Whatever.
First of all, of course, it's correct. Yes, we don't know everything, that's for sure. And we have competitors globally on the industrial side and on the IT side. And as you say, also in Turkey, we have very successful entrepreneurs that are also looking and discussing their digitalization strategy. First of all, this this project we're talking about, Smart Service Welt, is a European project. So we had a lot of European companies involved, and it was an open working group. But of course, as you say, it's happening a lot also in Asia. China is working on a digitalization strategy. If you saw the opening speech of Li Keqiang, he was clearly focusing on Industry 4.0. And on one hand side, he's asking for support and discussion and cooperation, but on the other hand side, they're investing heavily in their own digitalization strategy. So we cannot ignore that, that's for sure. But of course, we need to concentrate on some steps, and I think it's important now, which is still, the message is still the same. We have to focus on our domain know-how, we have to scale it up, we have to accelerate it, we have to combine it with IT, and of course, we want to start doing it with a European or German approach in the first step. Sooner or later, it will be anyhow a global discussion. It is already a global discussion. But we started with a European approach.
Yeah, I would say you're absolutely right. Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's an obvious thing to look to the Silicon Valley. But more or less, we are in a competition, yes, with London, with Paris, with maybe Turkey, with Stockholm. You're absolutely right. And again, what I said, it's a combination. Getting talent, getting money, getting business angels, getting entrepreneurs behind your idea.
Further questions, please. We won't let you go if there's another question. It's a power game now. You won't win. Here we go. I know I don't win. Excellent. And finally, we got a woman. Rare enough on this stage, and even better so. Hello, who are you?
Hello, my name is Anja Sonntag. I'm working for SBB Cargo.
Okay.
And we are involving in industrialization now. And my question would be, from the disruptive trends, where do you see like the quickest victims that will lose on this disruptive technologies?
Yeah, we all talk about winners, and now we know who's gonna leave the field with.
The victims will be the guys who don't digitalize. You know, if you don't do it, I think you're going to lose out. And the big thing we have to get done is to get into this data-driven business models. If you're a product company, it is very hard to, you know, do the product on the one side and then rethink completely a different model and say, I start collecting data, make something out of it. But you know, the examples out there which are already available in the world are stunning. You know, I wear a jawbone, and I predict to everybody here, this will change in 5 years, the health industry. Because think about not this particular jawbone, this is an outdated version, by the way, already. But in 5 years, we're going to have sensors on our body, you know, which have, it's not about the sensor, which have a database associated to it, with maybe 1 million heart attacks on it, 1 million strokes. And in the first time in lifetime, we will have the data of patients who experienced a heart attack, and we know actually how the vitals changed before it happened, while it happened. You know, and these small devices will communicate back to us, hey, Frank, it's coming, you better see a hospital. And this will completely change the health industry because it's going to move from treating me after the heart attack into treating me before it really now happens. And you can think through many, many examples. And if you are a device manufacturing, you know, is specialized about post-heart attack treatments, and only 20% happen of them going forward, and the rest of the business move to the pre-attack phase, you have a problem. So the only way, and I think Dirk Hoke explained, the only way is get up, start doing it, be courageous about it, do some mistakes, you know, but get into the business and iteratively try the stuff out. And I think, you know, startups like Relayer is, your set is, not even a few €100. You buy it on the store, get started, you know, and then you are in the business of doing it. This is what we have to do.
It's hard to predict. I mean, there are some verticals, consumer healthcare, mobility, transport, logistics. I mean, maybe the obvious ones, and maybe smart home as well. But actually, everybody is looking for the killer app. for the Internet of Things. And that's actually why we are so behind the business to developer, to enable actually the app developers to work, as we just heard, with a device, 150 euros, and play around and maybe develop the Angry Bird of the Internet of Things.
Well, Harald, you want to have the platform. That's the point. You don't want to have the killer app. You want to have the platform.
No, yeah. Listen, I mean, yeah, I'm the platform. Yeah, as long the killer app runs on is developed.
Okay.
From developers using my SDKs, my rapid prototyping tool. They're using my platform.
Okay. Sorry, I was interrupting.
No, but there's no area, no industry that will not be affected by digitalization. And all of us know a couple of companies that thought they're market leaders and that they would continue at least 10, 20, 50, 100 years with their business models. They're gone. They're literally gone. Yeah. So this can happen to any size of company, not only to small, medium size. This can happen even to very big companies, and very fast. Yeah. And this is something we have to consider. We have to change faster.
I think one number is a stunning number. You know, Bosch is one of the companies who builds the sensors. They are fit under your nail here. Sensors which have 5, 6, 10, 20 functions. They produce every day 3 million sensors. Every day, 3 million sensors. Just one company. You know, that means the world is going to be connected. Something is happening.
That's a very fine closing statement, Frank. Thank you. Thank you for hosting these 2 hours, which have a great lineup. Interesting people, big names, all we needed to. Thanks, Accenture, being a partner, making this possible. Thanks to the two of you for this deep insight, in-depth information and input. And, well, we hope to see you next time.